Breaking news, the head of the mayor's neighborhood safety program steps down. Next, we're looking at the impact of the decision and the concerns raised by one city leader. Then, BPD clearance rates dropping.
These numbers are a little more alarming than the numbers that have frankly been alarming for a while now.
What police leaders say is keeping them from closing cases. A fire causes trouble in Hamden.
There's a fire, we gotta get out.
Neighbors describe the terrifying scene that unfolded overnight.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 4.
We are following breaking news out of Southwest Baltimore, where a police officer has been involved in the shooting of a teenager. The scene is right across from the West Side Shopping Center. Let's take a live look at the scene right now, where moments ago we learned the victim, as we just said, is 17 years old. He is now, we're told, in critical condition in a hospital. Police just spoke from the scene about what happened. Vincent Hill is also there live. He'll join us just a moment to give us more information about what went down there today.
First is more breaking news out of Baltimore City, where another top official is out.
Late this afternoon, Mayor Brandon Scott confirmed Shante Jackson, who leads the mayor's efforts to address crime in Baltimore, has resigned. She leads the office central to Mayor Scott's 5-year plan to address crime. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mary Bubala.
And I'm Kai Jackson. Shante Jackson is the latest member of the mayor's executive team leaving the administration.
And we have live team coverage today. Mackenzie Frost looking at the office Shante is leaving behind.
But let's start with Amy Simpson and what she's learning about this latest departure. Amy?
Yes, Mary, Kai Jackson this afternoon also confirming that she's resigning effective June 30th. And while she didn't say why, she said stay tuned for her next chapter of service to Baltimore.
Mr. Chair, thank you for having us.
Wednesday afternoon, she sat before members of City Council.
We've got to ensure that we are using data to drive our plan.
Taking ownership of her team and their ongoing mission.
Monsi serves as that bridge.
But today, news that Shante Jackson, head of Monsi, the mayor's office of neighborhood safety and engagement, is resigning, set to leave the role at the end of June. Jackson tweeting to say she was not asked or told to resign. She's looking forward to what's next and to stay tuned. Mayor Brandon Scott thanking Jackson, saying she was an integral part of treating violence as a public health issue, and the team at Monsi will continue that work. Today, City Council President Nick Mosby said Monsi's work is important to the city, hoping that, quote, stability is maintained to ensure the effective implementation of plans to keep our communities safe. It's unknown what changed between yesterday.
Over the past few months, we have been really intentional.
And this morning, when news of this departure broke. Now, just before lunchtime today, Mayor Brandon Scott's office said it would not be commenting on personnel matters before a few hours later this afternoon putting out a lengthy statement about Jackson's departure, which indicates this resignation may have come as a surprise. We're live at City Hall. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Amy, thank you. Now, we just received a statement from Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates, which reads in part, he commends Executive Director Jackson for the groundwork she laid for the group violence reduction strategy work, the progress she made in the historically volatile Western District, and the expansion of the strategy into new sectors of our city. That again from Ivan Bates.
And this is the latest resignation to hit the mayor's office. The mayor's chief of staff and the director of communications abruptly resigned earlier this month. The communications director was appointed just this February. Now, the director of the city's troubled Department of Public Works is also out. Jason Mitchell will be leaving next month. And the city is also without a fire chief. Chief Niles Ford stepped down late last year after a scathing report about failures inside the department.
Jackson is stepping away from an agency that has been the focus of a Fox 45 News investigation for nearly 2 years.
Let's bring in Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost, who's been digging into Monsi and the city's flagship gun violence prevention program, Safe Streets. Mackenzie, Jackson's resignation, really some big news.
Yeah, it's incredibly an important development in this as we continue to investigate. Jackson is the city leader we've tried to get to agree to do a sit-down interview with me for years without success. And Monsi oversees the implementation of the Safe Streets program, which, as you know, is the program that struggles with transparency. We've been asking questions about the training for these violence interrupters, who they are in the first place, and most recently trying to get more information about the hiring practice for these workers. Remember, this is the same program with a checkered past. Last April, an internal review of Monzi and Safe Streets confirmed previous reporting and analysis from Fox 45. The data inconclusive surrounding the effectiveness of the Safe Streets locations. And last fall, Mayor Brandon Scott announcing a major shift in management for the Safe Streets program, too. That change coming after a year of questions from us about the program's effectiveness. Now, Safe Streets was launched under former Mayor Sheila Dixon's administration, and earlier today, we got her thoughts on Jackson's departure.
I feel that I don't know if she necessarily had the best expertise and background to really handle that agency.
It's a big agency.
Yeah, it is a big agency, and unfortunately, I don't know what has happened at City Hall, with the change of leadership, but whatever decisions are going to be made in the future with that agency, because it's important as part of the crime fighting effort, that the mayor can identify and find the right person.
Interesting, Mackenzie. So former Mayor Sheila Dixon kind of weighing in there.
Yeah.
Any idea what's going to happen next?
There's a lot of questions about that, right? It's still unclear who will take Jackson's spot as the leader of Monzi. We do know that she has a little bit of time, her resignation effective June 30th. But it's important to point out, too, that according to city records, Jackson got a promotion on November 1st of last year, still serving as the director of Monzi, bringing her annual salary to more than $223,000. Now, we'll have more about Jackson's history and the controversy surrounding her role in Safe Streets. That's all coming up at 5.
Mackenzie, thank you. We'll continue to follow it. And we want you to join the conversation. Do you have confidence in the Scott administration to run the city of Baltimore? Yes or no? You can vote at foxbaltimore.com/vote. We will have the results at 4:30.
For all of our coverage on the Safe Streets program, scan the QR code you see here on your screen. That will also take you to foxbaltimore.com, where you can find all of our reporting. Let's return to that breaking news from Southwest Baltimore, where police are investigating a shooting involving an officer.
Yeah, this is near the West Side Shopping Center. Our Vincent Hill live on the scene. Vincent, what are you learning? The shooting didn't happen long ago.
Yeah, Mary, as you can see, I'm going to step out of the way. It's still a very active crime scene here. You can see the mobile command. We're told BPD is actually in there reviewing body cam footage. Now, we're told by BPD the shooting happened around 145 at Frederick Avenue and Catherine Street. Police say one of their officers was engaged with the person they believe to be armed. That suspect ran from officers, and after a short foot chase and refusal to drop the weapon, they say one shot was fired by an officer. Here's what Deputy Commissioner Richard Worley had to say.
I can't tell you what the officer saw, but then when they called it out, they said the individual was characteristics of an armed person. That's why they started to approach him. As soon as they approached, the suspect took off running. During the foot pursuit, the officer gave several verbal commands for him to drop the weapon. He could clearly see the weapon in his right hand as he was running. It was a real weapon with an extended magazine.
Again, we did mention this at the top of the program, that the person shot is 17 years old, is in critical condition. We're told no officer was shot. And again, Baltimore police are reviewing body cam footage right behind me in their mobile command unit. Kai?
And Vincent, do we know anything about city police protocol if a suspect is running with a weapon in his hand, as officers said, visibly, but moving away from officers, what that protocol is for an officer then to discharge their weapon? Do we have any idea?
Now, this shooting happened just about 75 yards from Frederick Elementary School. I'm actually standing here in the parking lot of that school. For now, we're live in Baltimore. Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
Vincent, thank you. Meantime, this afternoon, a 24-year-old was shot near Clifton Park in northeast Baltimore. He's expected to survive. The man is one of at least 213 people who survived shootings so far this year. 96 people have been killed in Baltimore. Right now, many families are waiting for justice as Baltimore police continue to struggle to solve cases.
That's right. Maxine Stryker is live looking into the department's low clearance rate. Maxine.
Well, Mary, there is a lot of concern over the clearance rate tonight, that too many people are getting away with murder. Now, during a public safety hearing that we told you about yesterday, Deputy Police Commissioner Richard Worley said the clearance rate for homicides right now is 40% compared to 48% last year. And Councilman Mark Conway said that number was not good enough. Worley pointing to a lack of cooperative witnesses and a shortage of more than 500 officers, including detectives, as the reason that number is low.
And I feel like the less crimes we are able to clear or solve, the longer said criminal is going to do said activity, which makes more of a snowball effect on the problems that our detectives have to solve for.
We've probably lost 10 to 11 experienced homicide detectives to promotion.
And last year, homicide detectives, you may remember, they cleared fewer cases than the year before, ending the year with a clearance rate of 36.3%. Reporting live from police headquarters, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
I could start smelling the smoke, and I was like, there's a fire, we gotta get out.
A fire breaks out overnight in Hamden. Hear from neighbors about what they saw.
The city of Baltimore is suing 2 car companies for outdated technology they say makes it easier to steal those cars.
A number of schools in Anne Arundel County disrupted over an email threat. What police say happened today.
And temperatures nice and warm for some lawn mowing this afternoon after you get home from work. We're at 81 at 5, 79 at 6, and 76 at 7. Mostly clear skies. I'm going to let you know when rain is going to be watering some of those plants, and it could be in time for some weekend plans. That's my Weather Authority forecast.
This just in, Elon Musk says Twitter has a new CEO. He put out a tweet moments ago saying he plans to step down from the role within weeks. He did not disclose who the new CEO is, but hinted at it being a woman.
Making headlines, 3 schools in Anne Arundel County briefly went on lockdown this morning because of an email threat. The lockdown began at Old Mill High in Millersville. We're told the school received a threatening email, and after investigating, police found it was not credible. 2 other schools were also put on precautionary shelter-in-place order.
The city of Baltimore is suing Hyundai and Kia over ongoing car thefts. The city says the auto companies have failed to equip their vehicles with industry-standard vehicle immobilization technology. Without that feature, vehicles can be started without a key. The city says 577 Kia and Hyundais have been stolen in Baltimore this year. The mayor is joining multiple cities nationwide filing such suits. Last month, Maryland's Attorney General also joined other states asking for a recall on the theft-prone Hyundai and Kia vehicles. If you have a Hyundai or Kia, there are steps you can take to protect your car. The Laurel the police department is giving away wheel locks this Saturday. Those locks will be available from 10 in the morning until noon or until supplies last.
Breaking overnight, a fire breaks out in North Baltimore in Hamden.
1 person was hurt and 3 families are now left without a home.
Olivia Dance has more from the scene.
Crews put the fire out early this morning, but neighbors here on Union Avenue have been assessing the damage for hours. Now, the homes that were impacted are right next to us here, and I want to zoom in specifically on home number 806. I'm told that's where the fire started, and it seems to have the most extensive damage. You can see that family's belongings just scattered across their front yard. A sad scene here. And the fire chief on the scene earlier told me that 1 patient was transported to the hospital with minor burns, but thankfully mostly everyone is okay. Unfortunately, 3 families are now displaced, though, and Red Cross was working with them and their other neighbors. The chief tells me the fire started at around 2:30 this morning, again in home 806, and a total of 10 homes were impacted. Some of that, though, was due to smoke. One neighbor told me she woke up to the sound of windows breaking. When she came outside, that's when she saw the massive fire. I spoke with another neighbor who lives a couple houses away from where the fire started. Once the sun came up, she got a better idea of the damage. Take a listen.
2:30, I actually heard screams, the woman upstairs screaming, and next door, it's like, what's going on? What's going on? And then I heard like fire, fire, and then I could like start smelling the smoke, and I was like, there's a fire, we gotta get out. Didn't even take any shoes, didn't take anything, just got out of the house.
That neighbor told me it took about an hour to put the fire out, and I want to show you an example of just how powerful this fire was. It actually burned the light on this car that was parked just across the street, and I am told that the cause of this fire is still under investigation. Of course, we're working to get that information. But for now, reporting in Baltimore, I'm Olivia Dance, Fox 45 News.
Well, the city fire happened just hours after a fire in Baltimore County left 1 person dead. It happened in Dundalk on Gray Haven Road near Bear Creek Park. Fire crews say the man was rescued from the home and taken to the hospital in critical condition, but then he later died.
An investigation continues after a CSX train hit 2 tractor trailers yesterday in Rosedale. Baltimore County police say one of the trucks was dragged a quarter mile down the tracks before coming to a stop. Witnesses say the truck driver jumped out seconds after that collision. He escaped with what are believed to be non-life-threatening injuries.
He stopped on the track, and the train made impact on his passenger front door. Seeing the whole thing was terrifying. It was really terrifying.
Well, it all seems frighteningly familiar to those who live and work in the community. 10 years ago this month, another crash happened at the same stretch of tracks. At that time, the train was carrying chemicals. It derailed, sending a plume of fire and smoke over Rosedale.
There's been a lot of accidents down here, and it don't really seem like anything's been done to alleviate the situation down here.
I do think not having crossing arms here is an issue.
Well, there are no lights or crossing arms, as you just heard that person mention, to alert drivers of an oncoming train. Just a sign, which some witnesses insist is not enough warning. Be the first to know about breaking news by signing up for News on the Go. Go to foxbaltimore.com and click on Mobile Alert Sign Up under the Station tab.
And a nice warm one this afternoon, up to 83 right now here in Baltimore on the Toyota Ishida Harbor Skycam. Boy, doesn't that look refreshing in the background. Inner Harbor with the boats out there right near Canton Fells Point. Winds out of the west at 8 miles an hour. Humidity at 32%. And our dew point, that's a measure of moisture in the air. That's still pretty low at about 50 degrees. So it's not a muggy warmth. It's a dry warmth. 76 now at Bel Air, 83 here in Baltimore. We're at 73 down Annapolis Way. As you get over the Bay Bridge, we're at 79 at Stevensville, some 70s along the Eastern Shore, 82 at Westminster, 84 at Laurel. And a look at the entire Maryland map. Temperatures in the 70s and 80s, pretty much area and statewide. Even out in the mountainous Deep Creek Lake area, we're in the low 70s. And look at this, the entire eastern 2/3 of the country in the 70s and the 80s, nice and warm. Even Boston, usually they're kind of cool this time of year. They're at 80 degrees. HG radar showing us that things are nice and quiet until you get down to the south and west. That's where there are some showers and even some thunderstorms. Sunshine, warmth for today, even for tomorrow. Fair weather high pressure going to be in good control, and you see the circulation around that weather maker. Winds coming in out of the south and southwest for us. That's what's going to help pump up those temperatures. There's the wet weather over lower portions of the deep south, and it looks like that moves north as we head into tomorrow and then eventually east. So by late in the day tomorrow, could see some extra clouds, and I think by tomorrow evening, tomorrow overnight, especially after midnight, there could be some rain and maybe even a thunderstorm. So that's the next rain chance that's coming our way. Till then, though, for overnight, it looks real nice for spending some time on the deck or the porch, especially as we head through the early evening hours. Overnight toward tomorrow morning, back down into the 50s, but it's warmer than the mid-40s that we had this morning. And then for tomorrow, in and out sunshine as high temperatures get into the low to mid-80s. Once again, I think we'll be close to 85. And then overnight tomorrow night, notice after midnight into early Saturday morning, latest computer model trends are giving us at least some showers into early Saturday. Could even have a rumble of thunder, and I think that's going to last through about Saturday midday. Then look at Mother's Day. Sunshine back. I've actually removed the chance of rain. 77 with partial sun. Great for the brunch. And then a few showers on Monday, 74. And we're back to about 75 to 80, which is a little above average as we head into the middle and end of next week.
Jonathan, thank you. We continue to follow the breaking news of the day. Another top leader in Baltimore is leaving her position, the impact of the resignation of the director of Monzi. A congressional committee is looking into recent bank failures in government response. Are more banks in jeopardy? And a midnight deadline is approaching for Title 42 to end. What border agents are seeing right now as an influx of migrants continues. Well, things are heating up at the U.S.-Mexico border as Title 42 is set to expire tonight. Hami Verheen shows us the impact this has not only for states along the border, but really the entire nation.
These are the images today from the Mexican side of Brownsville, Matamoros. National Guard soldiers sent by either Texas Governor Greg Abbott or the Department of Defense soldiers sent at the request of the White House to help with the growing surge of migrants. Sources with Customs and Border Protection, or CBP, tell us that just yesterday, they had just over 3,000 encounters with migrants. Here in Eagle Pass, they tell us the numbers are less. About 1,400 migrants were encountered yesterday. In an exclusive interview a few days ago, Border Patrol Del Rio Sector Chief Jason Owens told us this will be a team effort.
Everybody is feeling the impact. So whether we're seeing 2,000 people cross a day in the Del Rio sector or not, we're still going to be taking lateral decompression efforts from El Paso or from RGV and us, because it's a team effort to try and address the crisis.
All hands on deck back here in Eagle Pass, where we found Department of Defense soldiers monitoring the river. This man turned himself over to them after crossing. He says he's from Colombia, and what is happening here is being felt all over the country, according to sheriffs from all over the U.S.
It affects us all, and we knew early on that it wasn't going to be just the border sheriffs. Every county in this country is going to be a border county, and we're seeing that today.
We're not going to resolve our problems in Washington. I think we're going to solve our problems at the local level. Local and state officials, sheriffs across America working together. I think it's how we're going to solve the problem.
Non-governmental agencies tell us tonight that Border Patrol has asked them if they will be able to receive their maximum capacity of migrants, because if not, they will be released to the streets to find their way to their final destination. In Eagle Pass, Texas, I'm Jami Virgen reporting.
And a former Baltimore mayor joins the call for new school leadership. Our conversation with Sheila Dixon. And word tonight that Shante Jackson, who leads the mayor's office for fighting crime, is out. Former federal prosecutor Thiru Vignarajah joins us live next to talk about what's going on. We continue to follow the breaking news out of Southwest Baltimore, where police are investigating an officer-involved shooting of an armed 17-year-old. This is a live look at the scene right across from the West Side Shopping Center. Police say the suspect was chased through a number of alleys, and after refusing to drop his gun, he was shot at least once. The mayor reacting just moments ago.
As we are going through this investigation, we will make sure that every protocol is followed and that we have an investigation that is completed in the best way. But what I will also say today, in addition, we know that Monsi will be doing a coordinated neighborhood response in this neighborhood, as we always do after an incident like this. But I will also say again that we will not we cannot continue to allow folks to openly carry illegal firearms in our city. We know that this is plaguing our city and has continued to do so. So we will continue to make sure that we do everything to get these illegal guns off the street.
Well, the teen remains in critical condition right now. The identity of the officer has not yet been released.
More breaking news as another top member of Mayor Scott's administration is out. This afternoon, Mayor Scott confirmed Shante Jackson, who leads the mayor's office of neighborhood safety and engagement, is resigning. Former mayoral candidate and city prosecutor Thuru Vignarajah joins us live to talk about the continued exodus from City Hall. Thuru,
good afternoon.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Jackson has been central to Mayor Scott's 5-year plan to address crime. How big of a blow is it that she leaves now?
Unfortunately, this is another really big moment for City Hall, and I think there are two things that are striking. First, these are not the people that Mayor Scott inherited. These are the people that he recruited and built his leadership team around. They're the ones that are leaving, and that shows that either he's lost faith in them or they've lost faith in him. Either way, it's really big. And the second thing is there is such a growing vacuum of leadership in City Hall. You have to wonder, with deputy mayors, with communications directors, with city administrators, now with the head of Monsi out, you have to wonder who's actually leading City Hall anymore.
Oh, it's interesting. Director Jackson, Thuru, and Monsi have been really a central part of the group violence reduction strategy. I want to just gauge your take on whether you've seen progress from GVRS, and what do you think her resignation means for the future of the program?
Look, there are overall some signs for optimism, but Monsi in particular, Safe Streets in particular, has been the subject of so much scrutiny and so many unanswered questions. And Director Jackson fueled, I think, the mayor's approach to not answering those questions. As much as he wants to present Monsi and Safe Streets as the tip of the spear, as much as he wants to present Director Jackson as the tip of the spear, no one really knows what impact they were having. And now that the tip of the spear is broken, you have to wonder whether the overall program is in doubt.
And Thuru, we imagine that you know as well that the mayor's chief of staff and director of communications have very recently left their posts as well. Do you believe the Scott administration can effectively run the city with this number of departures?
I think it's a really hard moment for the mayor. City Hall is not a one-person job. You have to build an extraordinary team. And there were moments of hope where we thought that the mayor had recruited some of the right people to the right jobs. But here we are, 2.5, almost 3 years into his administration, and virtually everyone he brought in has left or been replaced or fired. That is a really bad spot for the mayor to be in when there aren't really overall any signs of progress that he can point to.
All right, Thuru Vignarajah. Thuru, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And we want you to join the conversation. Do you have confidence in the Scott administration to run the city of Baltimore? Yes or no? So far, 100% who have voted say no. You can vote right now at foxbaltimore.com/vote.
For all of our coverage on the Safe Streets program, scan the QR code on your screen. That will take you to foxbaltimore.com.
Well, first on Fox, Brooklyn Park residents say a gushing water meter is creating trouble in their neighborhood. Not only does the entire block have low water pressure, they say their water also smells and tastes like metal. A number of unanswered 311 complaints later, they decided to call Fox 45 News for some help.
Yeah, Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor joins us live right now from that leaky meter. Rebecca, you did reach out to DPW about this. What did they tell you?
Well, they didn't say much of anything, just that they were looking into residents' concerns. However, about an hour after I contacted them, informing them about the situation, take a look over here at what we're now seeing. That leaking water meter, it's now a massive hole that DPW workers are currently filling in as we speak. All afternoon, DPW crews have been coming and going from this location with all kinds of equipment. Still, though, it remains unclear what caused the leak and why it took so long for DPW to address the issue. And while the months-long leak has obviously been a huge waste of city water, residents say it's also causing problems with the water inside these homes. One resident telling us that the water hasn't tasted or smelled the same since the leak began. And recently, she noticed a new concern when pouring her morning cup of coffee. Lisa Sylvia describing what looks like slimy pink residue floating in her glass.
There's an oily substance. That's what really caught my eyes with the coloration. It looks like oil, thin layer of oil on top of it.
So again, crews seemingly here making repairs on that leak. However, when it comes to addressing these concerns about water safety, these very serious concerns, DPW still has yet to respond. Reporting live, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Rebecca, thank you. Well, tonight, former Mayor Sheila Dixon is calling for a new leader of Baltimore City Schools.
As Project Baltimore's Chris Papps reports, Dixon says the results are simply not there, and she believes it's time for Dr. Sonia Santelises to go.
It's now been 13 years since Sheila Dixon was mayor of Baltimore. Since leaving office, she has watched her city become one of the most violent and fastest shrinking. With 569,000 residents, Baltimore's population is down 50,000 since 2010. And according to Dixon, the reason people are leaving is simple.
People can say it's because of crime, but the biggest thing is because of education. People want the best education for their children.
And Dixon says families are not receiving that from Baltimore City schools. If you were mayor right now, what's the first thing you would do with the school system?
If I were mayor right now, the first thing that I would do with the school system would be to bring in all of the various unions, the administration, sit down at a table and ask some hard questions. What are we going to do to change this?
Dixon says when she was mayor, every month she had a meeting with school leaders, the CEOs, school board members, and unions. She said she learned about the challenges and worked on solutions. But she says these meetings also let the school leaders know the mayor was watching.
The fact that Baltimore City provides funding to Baltimore City schools, we have a responsibility to make the schools accountable.
It's difficult to compare Baltimore City schools now to when Dixon was mayor. A lot has changed in the city and the school system itself, including changes in graduation requirements and state testing. Here's what we do know. During Dixon's term, Baltimore City Schools was one of the lowest performing large school systems in America, just like it is today. But it was showing signs of improvement.
From 2007 to 2010, when Dixon was mayor, key metrics like enrollment and graduation rates were increasing. Compare that to today. Most key metrics are going in the wrong direction. Over the last 5 years, enrollment is down 3,000 students. Graduation rates are down from 72% to 68%. And when it comes to student performance, federal test scores have dropped since Dixon's term. According to the nation's report card, students performed better in both 4th and 8th grade math and reading in 2009 compared to 2022.
Money's important, but accountability is also just as important. You can't keep putting money into a bad system and not have accountability and show results.
Dixon believes Baltimore City needs to rethink education. She favors year-round schooling and longer school days. With 58% of city students chronically absent, the most in the state, Dixon says schools need to work directly with families to get students in class.
Anytime you have to stimulate a parent or guardian to get their child to school, something's wrong.
And according to Dixon, there's one more big change that city schools needs to make. and it involves CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises. Current Mayor Brandon Scott strongly supports Dr. Santelises, but Dixon says the results are not there. It's time for her to go.
I think there needs to be some changes in leadership because of all the challenges and the results that we're seeing in the schools. I think it's time. I think she's a nice, wonderful person. I think we do need to have a change.
I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Washington looking at rules to prevent more bank failures. I'm Atrell Nashar with what those look like as another American bank is flashing new warning signs.
And the O's face one of the best teams in MLB, and guess what came out on top with a win? A look at their series win over the Rays.
And if you're sniffling and sneezing with this beautiful weather, it's because of the trees and the grasses. Look at those high pollen levels. Oak, the main tree allergen. Molds are also running moderate. I'm going to let you know how long it's going to be with sun and dry weather and when we could rain some of this out and if it comes in time for the weekend. That's in my Weather Authority forecast.
Gas prices have stabilized a bit this week. According to AAA, the average cost for a gallon of gas is $3.40. That's a penny higher than yesterday. A year ago, a gallon of gas cost $4.40, so some improvement, right? In Maryland, AAA reports the average cost for a gallon of gas is $3.43. A month ago, it was $3.54, and a year ago, it was $4.42 a gallon. Financial analysts say the banking crisis may not be over. Shares of PacWest plummeted today after news it lost almost 10% of its deposits last week. Regulators and lawmakers are still trying to get to the bottom of 3 previous banking failures. National correspondent Atrell Nashar explains how all of this could change the future of banking.
Good friend from Nevada.
Officials in Washington conducting a post-mortem of 3 American bank failures that occurred within 6 weeks. A clear picture emerging of who was at fault in the cases of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. According to the Government Accountability Office, it was a combination. The banks had risky business strategies, weak liquidity, and weak risk management. And regulators, recognizing those risks, didn't escalate actions to address them fast enough. Many in Congress thinking the same thing.
I'm concerned about the possibility of yet another bank failure that would impact my constituents, one that could have even more disastrous effects.
There was already downward pressure on regional bank stocks even before PacWest shares took a plunge on Thursday. One proposal that's been floated is a temporary ban on short selling bank stocks in order to prevent market manipulation.
If someone's doing anything wrong, people are in collusion or people going short and then making a tweet, about a bank, they should go after them. And vigorously, and they should be punished to the full extent the law allows it.
Then there's the question of what to do when a bank fails. Should the FDIC protect deposits beyond its current limit of $250,000? It did for Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank, costing the Deposit Insurance Fund about $15.8 billion. The FDIC out with a proposal Thursday to have the biggest banks foot most of the bill to replenish it. Some say covering uninsured deposits was necessary to prevent even more economic damage. Others warn it creates a moral hazard for banks.
Because you behave badly this first time and then someone comes to rescue you, then the likelihood of you behaving badly again just goes up that much higher.
No easy or quick fix or way to guarantee another bank failure isn't just around the corner. In Washington, I'm Atrell Nishar reporting.
Happening tonight, the NFL releases this year's football schedule. Now, we already know the Ravens will be in London on Week 6, taking on the Tennessee Titans. The schedule will be out by 8 o'clock. Tune in to our news at 10 o'clock for the latest on the NFL schedule. And let's take a live look at Camden Yards right now. The Orioles are off today after a series victory over the Rays. Last night, Towson's head football coach, Pete Shinnick, threw out the first pitch. Dean Kremer taking the mound shortly after that. 6 shutout innings, striking out 4. Austin Hayes in the bottom of the 6th with an RBI single to make it 2-0 game. And in the 9th, Yane Cano shut the door on this. This is his third save for the year, by the way. The O's take the series win over the Rays 2-1, which was the final score.
The Atlanta series was a little bit of a bummer, honestly. We went in that first one to have opportunities and win the next 2 and didn't. And then we come in here to play against these guys who are very difficult to play against because their pitching is so good and their lineup is the best in baseball right now. And they just do a lot of things really, really well. And I thought, we've pitched extremely well.
I think we're doing a decent job. We stole 1 from the Braves at their place and took 2 from the Rays at our place. We're just trying to build off that and continue that for the rest of the season.
Ryan Ripken and Rocco DeSangro will be talking about this series and more baseball on a new episode of Rip and Rock. Episode 1 is out right now. You can download it on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, go O's. They're real fun to watch this season. And temperatures right now at 83 as we take a beautiful look down at Camden Yards, having a little off day here at home. But we're back at it against, I believe, Pittsburgh tomorrow evening. 83 right now, winds out of the west at 8 miles an hour, humidity 32%. Dew point's nice and dry at 50, so the measure of moisture in the air is low. That Toyota Shin Harbor Skycam shows the sunshine is out. 83 here in Baltimore right now, 80 degrees at Columbia, 83 at Laurel, 82. At Westminster, a little cooler near the bay in the 70s, but everybody else is generally in the 80s. Shorts and short sleeves weather should be in the mid to upper 70s this time of year. So a few degrees above average, and it looks like we're going to do this again for tomorrow. Pretty much statewide after, if you remember, in just recent history, we were talking about some snow up around Oakland, Maryland. What was that? I believe it was last week. Now we're at 73 and sun. We've got temperatures even all the way down the ocean at 64 at Ocean City. Take a look. The eastern 2/3 of the country bathed in that warmth, so there's really not a whole lot of hope for cooler air coming our way. It's all in the Intermountain West. HG radar does show, though, there is some hope for rain. Lexington, south and west down to Nashville. Tennessee got some showers and even a couple of rumbles in there. So sunshine and warm with fair weather high pressure. Our weather maker for today and for tomorrow. That means even warmer weather yet for tomorrow. But then we're going to follow it up with some showers and perhaps even a thunderstorm as we work into Friday night late and Saturday morning midday. So we're tracking that next weather maker as it moves its way into the Ohio Valley. You see there right around Chicago, Minneapolis. Then eventually, by Saturday, we're in the occasional rain and maybe even a thunderstorm, especially again through morning and midday hours. Let's take a closer look on the future scan. 10:30 p.m. tonight, we're nice and dry. It's still mild, 60s, 70s. Overnight tonight, not as cool as the mid-40s we had to wake up to this morning. By 5 a.m., 59. Westminster and Frederick, 62 here in Baltimore. And we pop into the 60s once again by about 8 a.m. Lunchtime tomorrow, 70s to near 80 with some patchy clouds. Actually, it's a mix of clouds and sun, I'm saying, for our Friday. And then Friday night, here it is. After midnight, the clouds thicken up enough that we could get some showers by the time you're waking up on Saturday morning. And those showers and maybe even a rumble of thunder through about lunchtime. I think high temperatures on Saturday, even with the clouds, even with the potential of rain, likely still getting up into the mid-70s. So the forecast for tonight, 56, mostly clear, seasonable. Tomorrow, 85 with a mix of clouds and sun. It's a warm day overall. Get outside, enjoy. Saturday, there are your showers and thunderstorms, especially morning. Midday should taper during the afternoon. High temperatures in the mid to upper 70s there. Mid to upper 70s on Sunday with partly to mostly sunny skies. Could see a few more showers move back in for Monday, 74 and 75 to near 80 into the early and middle portion of next week.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5, we're following breaking news tonight where we're learning about a police-involved shooting regarding a 17-year-old. And given the national debate over gas and electric stoves, Consumer Reports adds another option to the mix. Gas versus electric, which is better in the kitchen, has been a heated debate, pun intended, among home chefs for years. And now that gas is being called into question over safety concerns, Tom Rogers reveals a newer cooking option that you might want to consider.
Last year, Leah Brickley said farewell to her gas range and brought an induction range for her home kitchen. As a professional chef and baker, she was conflicted about using electric heat.
I was a little nervous when they actually pulled the gas stove out and put the induction in, but I haven't looked back, and I don't miss cooking on gas at all.
Consumer Reports' Paul Hope says if you're looking to replace an old range, don't let fear of the unfamiliar keep you from switching to induction.
Induction uses an oscillating magnetic field to actually transfer energy directly from the element to the pan. The result is it's much more efficient and it heats up faster too.
And contrary to what you may have heard, you probably won't need to buy all new cookware.
It's true that induction only works with magnetic cookware, but that really isn't as limiting as it sounds. Cast iron, most stainless steel, even an enameled cast iron Dutch oven all work. If you're not sure, stick a magnet to your pan. If the magnet sticks to it, it's going to work with induction.
What doesn't work? Aluminum, but anodized aluminum might.
Traditionally, anodized aluminum cookware didn't work with induction, but more and more we're seeing pieces like this that come with a special base that's induction compatible.
Another plus is Consumer Reports range tests. Induction burners typically outperform other types of cooktop burners. The Frigid Air earns top scores for low and high heat cooking, plus very good scores for baking, and costs thousands less than many of the other recommended inductions in Consumer Reports ratings. Now, if you're not ready to be fully inducted into the induction club, Consumer Reports also checked out several portable induction cooktops.
Portable induction cooktop is a really good option if you routinely entertain or find yourself without enough free burners on your stove.
This one from Duck's Top heats fast, offers steady simmering, and masters melting. And just like full-size induction cooktops, they are easy to clean. Consumer Reports says if you're making the switch from a gas range to an electric induction, you'll likely need to pay an electrician to install a new higher volt outlet. That typically costs a few $100s and will add to your monthly electric bill. Tom Rogers, Fox 45 News.
All right, here we go. Let's take a quick look at your weekend forecast. This is what we call the GFS future scan. In other words, our extended range computer model that we use for making the 7-day forecast. So it takes you a few days out here. For Friday, it looks like a dry day with partial sun. High temperatures mid-80s. Saturday, the day prior to Mother's Day, that's going to be your indoor day, I think, especially during the morning and midday. That's the best chance of getting some scattered rain, maybe a thunderstorm. Sunday, Mother's Day now, shaping up real nice. Some dry air trying to edge in from the north and east. And I think that's going to keep us dry. So 65 at 10 a.m. for brunch. Maybe some outdoor brunch plans there for Mom. 2 p.m. 73 for a stroll, and 74 at 5 p.m. under partial sunshine.
Jonathan, thank you. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, a 17-year-old is shot by a Baltimore police officer. What we're learning tonight. And another key city official is leaving. We break down what Shante Jackson's departure means for Baltimore. A shooting in southwest Baltimore involving a police officer and a 17-year-old, what we're learning from police.
A major change in Baltimore City leadership, the latest on Shantae Jackson's departure from Monsey.
Getting away with murder, looking into the reasons behind Baltimore's low clearance rates.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 5.
And we are following multiple breaking stories tonight. First, a police officer shoots a 17-year-old in southwest Baltimore. The scene is right across from the West Side Shopping Center. Happened just before 1:30 this afternoon. Baltimore police say the teen was armed. He is currently in the hospital in critical condition. Our Vincent Hill is live on the scene gathering information. He'll join us in a moment with more.
Also breaking tonight after another top member of Mayor Brandon Scott's administration is out. Shantae Jackson, the director of the mayor's office of neighborhood safety and engagement, is resigning. As director, Jackson played a critical role in Mayor Scott's 5-year plan to address crime. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. Shantae Jackson is just the latest high-profile exit we are seeing in Baltimore City. And we have team coverage on the developing news, starting with Amy Simpson live at City Hall for us tonight. Amy?
Yeah, Mary, Jackson this afternoon confirming that she's resigning effective June 30th. And while she did not say why, she said stay tuned for her next chapter of service to Baltimore.
Mr. Chair, thank you for having us.
Wednesday afternoon, she sat before members of City Council.
We've got to ensure that we are using data to drive our plan.
Taking ownership of her team and their ongoing mission.
Monsey serves as that bridge.
But today, news that Shantae Jackson, head of Monsey, the mayor's office of neighborhood safety and engagement, is resigning, set to leave the role at the end of June. Jackson tweeting to say she was not asked or told to resign. She's looking forward to what's next and to stay tuned. Mayor Brandon Scott thanking Jackson, saying she was an integral part of treating violence as a public health issue, and the team at Monsey will continue that work. Today, City Council President Nick Mosby said Monsey's work is important to the city, hoping that, quote, stability is maintained to ensure the effective implementation of plans to keep our communities safe. It's unknown what changed between yesterday.
Over the past few months, we have been really intentional.
And this morning, when news of this departure broke. Now, but just before lunchtime today, Mayor Brandon Scott's office told Fox 45 News it would not be commenting on personnel matters before releasing a lengthy statement with Jackson this afternoon, which indicates this resignation may have come as a surprise. Live at City Hall, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Amy. City State's Attorney Ivan Bates commented on Jackson's departure. He said in part he commends Executive Director Jackson for the groundwork she laid for the group violence reduction strategy, the progress she made in the historically volatile Western District, and the expansion of the strategy into new sectors of the city.
This is the latest resignation to hit the mayor's office. Only days ago, the mayor's chief of staff and director of communications abruptly resigned. The communications director was only appointed in February. Now, the director of the city's troubled Department of Public Works is also on the way out. Jason Mitchell will be leaving his post next month. And the city is also without a fire chief. Chief Niles Ford stepped down late last year after a scathing report about failures inside that department.
Jackson is stepping away from an agency that has been the focus of a Fox 45 News investigation for nearly 2 years. Let's bring in Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost, who has been digging into Monsey and the city's flagship violence prevention program, Safe Streets. So Mackenzie, Jackson is resigning. It's big news. What happens now?
Yeah, it's an incredibly important development. Jackson is the city leader who we've been trying to get to agree to do a sit-down interview with us for years without success. The agency she used to lead, or will still be leading until the end of June, is one with a list of questions that grows by the day, all in our effort for more transparency and accountability. Director Shantae Jackson, a woman in the spotlight as we investigate the agency and gun violence prevention programs trying to untangle the layers of concern. Safe Streets, central to the questions surrounding transparency and accountability for the millions of dollars given to the program. With a checkered past, the location scattered around the city. In April of last year, an internal review of Monzi and Safe Streets confirming previous reporting and analysis from Fox 45 News. The data is inconclusive surrounding the effectiveness of the Safe Streets locations. Last fall, Mayor Brandon Scott announcing a major shift in management for the program. The change coming after a year of questions from Fox 45 News about the program's effectiveness. Does that signal that the previous CBOs that were operating these locations were mismanaging the locations?
No, it's about evolving.
We've struggled to get information about how this program is run, the training, the staff. Will this change bring more transparency to this for the public?
We're very transparent about the program.
But that has not been reality. Fox 45 News threatening to sue the city of Baltimore to get leaders to hand over the contracts with the nonprofits running each Safe Streets location. We've gone searching for workers at all the locations, trying to get a better idea of how they do their work. Few people were found, and even fewer details provided. Jackson refusing to provide Safe Streets workers for an actual interview or showing Fox 45 News the inner workings of the interrupters' responsibilities. Former Mayor Sheila Dixon launching Safe Streets during her administration, now reacting to Jackson's departure.
I feel that I don't know if she necessarily had the best expertise and background to really handle that agency.
It's a big agency.
Yeah, it is a big agency, and unfortunately, you know, I don't know what has happened at City Hall, you know, with the change of leadership, but whatever decisions are going to be made in the future with that agency, because it's important as part of the, you know, crime fighting effort, that the mayor can identify and find the right person.
But Jackson also facing several questions about her involvement with a Monzi employee who was arrested and charged with vehicular manslaughter in 2022. After sending this email to senior staffers and community-based organizations about Gardnell Carter, who had been arrested and charged, the email writing, quote, "Following the assistance and support of Mayor Scott and Monzi, Carter will be released." Soon after that investigation airing, Carter no longer employed, and Monday pleading guilty to those charges. Then Jackson's issues with her ex-boyfriend, who runs the nonprofit Project Numa, the organization getting a federal grant from the U.S. Department of Justice through Monzi. Fox 45 News reviewing internal communication among Monzi staffers, indicating Jackson praised employees for completing that grant application for money that would later be sent to Project Numa and another organization. The mayor's office says Jackson later recused herself from the grant process and grant administration. Before being tapped as Monzi's director, Jackson was the acting leader of the Baltimore Community Mediation Center in 2019. That's the nonprofit running the Woodbourne-McCabe Safe Streets location at the time. The same spot where these court records from a murder case show an employee describing how she was taught to clock in on her phone without ever having to go into work, and outlining how Safe Streets workers would not hold meetings at their location, rather meet at places like McDonald's and Applebee's. Jackson exiting City Hall leaves the mayor's office of neighborhood safety and engagement without a leader at a critical time for Baltimore as the summer and crime concerns are starting to heat up. Now, according to city records, Jackson got a promotion effective November 1st of last year, bringing her annual salary to more than $223,000. Marion Kai?
All very interesting, Mackenzie. Thank you. Well, Fox 45 News has tried to talk to Shantae Jackson many times about the Safe Streets program. We've also asked for a sit-down interview. The director walking away from our questions more often than not and refusing to agree to an interview.
We're not talking about cherry picking numbers. Let's make sure we don't report that, okay?
Okay. Director Jackson, can I ask you a couple of questions?
I think the mayor said meet us at the next event.
Are you going to the next event?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Director Jackson, can you explain a little bit more about ROCA? When can we learn more about Safe Streets?
Now, it is important to note Monzi is not just in charge of Safe Streets. The department oversees several of the mayor's key public safety efforts. The office's responsibilities include victim services, including domestic violence and sexual assault response, safety policy research, and the city's group violence reduction strategy plans.
Well, we want you to join the conversation. Do you have confidence in the Scott administration to run the city of Baltimore? Yes or no? So far, every voter says no. You can vote at foxbaltimore.com/vote.
For all of our coverage on the Safe Streets program, scan the QR code on your screen. That will take you to foxbaltimore.com. And returning to that breaking news from Southwest Baltimore, where police are investigating a shooting involving an officer.
This is near the West Side Shopping Center. Our Vincent Hill is live on the scene. Vincent, give us the latest there.
Yeah, Mary, let me go and step out of the way. As you can see, it's still a very active scene. You can see BPD's mobile command. We're told BPD is in there reviewing body cam footage at this time. Now, it happened around 1:30 at Frederick Avenue and Catherine Street. Police say one of their officers was engaged with the person they believed to be armed. That person ran from an officer, and after a short chase and commands to drop a weapon, an officer fired at least one shot. Now, here's how Deputy Commissioner Worley describes it.
I can't tell you what the officer saw, but then when they called it out, they said the individual was characteristics of an armed person. That's why they started to approach him. As soon as they approached, the suspect took off running. During the foot pursuit, the officer gave several verbal commands for him to drop the weapon. He could clearly see the weapon in his right hand as he was running. It was a real weapon with an extended magazine.
Now, again, that person shot is a 17-year-old juvenile. We're told they are in critical condition at a local hospital. No officer was injured during this shooting. Kai?
And Vincent, we do understand that the suspect was running. We heard Deputy Commissioner Worley talking about the suspect with a weapon in his hand. Do we know what the city police protocol and policy is for an officer just charging their weapon as a suspect is running away? Again, given the suspect does have a weapon in their hand.
Yeah, Kai. Now, this is directly from the BPD's use of force policy. It says a member may use deadly force when they reasonably believe such an action is immediately necessary to protect a member or another person from imminent threat of serious bodily injury or death. Now, speaking as a former law enforcement officer, Kai, what that means is, did that officer believe that if this person got away or remained armed, that either himself or someone in the public would have been injured or killed? For now, we're live in Baltimore. Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
Vincent, thank you. Too many people getting away with murder. The concerns over low clearance rates in the city of Baltimore.
And a gushing water meter wreaking havoc on a neighborhood for months. Fox 45 News talks with Baltimore residents who say the city ignored their calls for help.
Former President Trump taking the spotlight once again in a big way. Did his town hall awaken his challengers or make him stronger than ever? We'll hear from both sides coming up.
And as we head through the remainder of the afternoon and towards sunset, temperatures looking very welcoming. Maybe head out on the porch or the deck or anything outside. Maybe an evening walk or an evening stroll with the dog. 79 degrees with some mostly clear skies at 6, 7 p.m. temperature 76 and 73 at 8. Sunglasses out. I'm going to let you know when that next chance of rain moves in and how it can impact some of your weekend plans for Mother's Day. My Weather Authority forecast.
Well, the race for 2024 took an interesting turn this week as former President Donald Trump appeared at a CNN town hall during primetime Wednesday night. Some believe it is a real preview of what's to come in the fight for the White House. Sinclair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman has a look.
It was for better or worse to critics and supporters alike, the same old Donald Trump. And despite the fact checks often counter to his claims, Trump in typical fashion declared victory in his CNN town hall, less than 36 hours after being found liable for sexual abuse and less than 2 months from a criminal indictment for alleged financial fraud.
What do you say to voters who say it disqualifies you from being president?
Well, there aren't too many of them because my poll numbers just came out. They went up. Okay. And they went up with the other fake charge, too.
The poll numbers do show him dominating, as of now, by an average lead of 30 points over his next potential GOP contender, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, whose supporters, hoping he'll run, tweeted the CNN town hall was, as expected, over an hour of nonsense that proved Trump is still stuck in the past. Further worrying some concerned that giving Trump the airtime or really any attention only helps him in 2024. One pundit calling it a disservice to democracy.
Hope is not a strategy at this point. Donald Trump has shown staying power within the Republican base at this point. And even as I think he may erode with the drip over time, he's still going to have a very strong base going into primary and convention season.
Fellow Republicans critical of Trump's role as de facto party leader say it's more evidence they need to move on or risk more losses.
I supported him in 2016. I supported him in 2020. But he's a 3-time loser going on to be a 4-time loser. I'm worried about the ballot that he affects up and down the ticket.
Some holding out hope that all of this could change when more candidates emerge to challenge Trump on the trail and in debates. Governor Ron DeSantis expected to decide if he'll run in the next month, and still plenty of others waiting in the wings. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
Well, it is a beautiful day in the Baltimore area. This is a live look at the Inner Harbor, and meteorologist Jonathan Myers tells us if this nice weather lasts through the weekend. Jonathan?
All right, and it looks like, yes, some beautiful weather is going to be coming our way for tomorrow. But as we head towards the weekend, that's when some rain could get back in the picture. So let's go ahead and take a look at things. 82 degrees right now here in Baltimore. Got some partly mostly cloudy skies as we take a nice look at 695. This is not too far from the York Road exit up in Townsend. Winds out of the west-southwest at 6. And yes, the traffic moving by pretty easily here, as I believe they are heading to the east on this nearest group of lanes here. So you won't need the sunglasses going this way, but going that way, yes, you will, because we do have some of that sun. Humidity is at 35%. Temperatures all in the 70s and 80s area-wide, so it is nice and warm. We had highs in the mid-70s yesterday, tacked on another 5 to 7 degrees today with 82 in Baltimore, 83 at Laurel, 75 La Plata. We're at 81 at Chestertown, some 70s across the Eastern Shore. Look at that, even Cumberland at 81. And where it was snowing last week in Oakland, we've got temperatures that are near 70 degrees with sunshine. And that warmth goes all the way across the eastern 2/3 of the country, all the way to the Intermountain West, really. I do want you to notice it's not all roses and sunshine here out of all this. We do have warm weather, but we also have some rain and thunderstorms down Nashville way. And for now, fair weather high pressure is our latest weather maker, and that will remain with us through tomorrow. But then some of that wetness, it won't be kind of what you're seeing in terms of the intensity once it gets here. But I think as we head through tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, you'll notice a few increases in the clouds and then the rain right on the doorstep by tomorrow evening. So I think by tomorrow night into Saturday, there could be some rain and maybe even a rumble of thunder. So let's plan things out. Overnight tonight on the close-up, temperatures falling down into the 50s to near 60 degrees. Some partial sun for tomorrow by lunchtime. Another nice outdoor lunch day with high temperatures near 80. Could be even a couple degrees warmer than we were today. I think it'll be in the low and mid-80s, probably up to about 85. And then for our Friday night, the clouds increase once again. Nice and mild, temperatures in the 60s. But, yep, there comes the rain by about 8:30 a.m. early Saturday morning. Occasional rain. Could even have a rumble of thunder through Saturday morning midday. High temperature 75 to 80 there. And then just in time for Mother's Day, a slug of dry air works back in. So that's some great news for the moms and for having an outdoor brunch. 56 with mostly clear skies for tonight. Tomorrow, 85. Mix of I'll get that out. A mix of clouds and sunshine. Nice and warm. 78 degrees for Saturday. Showers and thunderstorms should taper during the afternoon. Mother's Day, perfect. 77. Back to a chance of showers on Monday with a high in the mid-70s and 75 to 80 into early next week.
Well, after months of complaints, DPW crews show up to fix one neighborhood's water woes, but only after Fox 45 News came out to do a story. The update coming up after this.
Americans working more than one job to make ends meet. We break down new research and what experts say is behind changes in the workforce.
President Biden is targeting vulnerable Republican House districts amid the ongoing debt ceiling crisis. A day after meeting congressional leaders over the ceiling, the president visited a district in New York narrowly captured by a Republican in 2022. The president making the case the GOP is holding the economy hostage with demands for spending cuts as lawmakers on both sides stick to their own demands.
Increasing the debt ceiling has been tied to spending cuts 8 times. There's a video of then Senator Joe Biden arguing for spending cuts. And for him to say all y'all need to do is just raise the debt ceiling, a clean debt ceiling increase. Really, Mr. President?
Does the United States of America pay its bills? Right? Think about it in our own families. You know, you can make a choice not to make your auto payment, but they're going to take the car.
Well, Democrats maintain they want a clean extension, though they're willing to talk about budget cuts separately. They have until June 1st. A new study finds more Americans now have to hold 2 jobs just to make ends meet. Families struggling with their finances saying the cost of living just too high. Didi Gatton reports.
The workforce has certainly gone through significant changes recently. Now, some are looking for multiple streams of income and holding multiple jobs to make ends meet.
I definitely grew up thinking I was just going to have one job and, you know, be able to make a good living and provide for myself. But Cost of living has gone up astronomically. Inflation is crazy.
From 9 to 5, Lauren Jack is a marketing manager, but it's not her only job. She's a content creator who also makes money through social media posts.
It was just so stressful because I was barely making it, and I was like, there has to be another way around this.
Jack isn't alone. Data analytics company Kantar questioned 10,000 people in 10 countries. Their research found side hustling spans generations, and Gen Z is most impacted, with 40% having 2 or more roles according to their study. Director of the Institute for Economic Forecasting at the University of Central Florida, Dr. Sean Snee, says as we see cost of living increases, he's not surprised by the data.
Necessity is the mother of invention, and if your one job isn't paying all the bills, then I think many people are kind of forced into taking either that side job.
Citing data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, MarketWatch says in March there were more than 8 million multiple job holders, or 5.1% of the total employed population. They say that's up from the about 7.5 million during the same period last year.
There could be some volatility over the next couple of months, but I would suspect over the next year or so, this trend should start to reverse itself somewhat.
We have a disadvantage in the sense that, the traditional way of being successful isn't necessarily the way anymore. So it can be scary, or you can think of it as an opportunity to create your own path.
Dr. Snaith adds employers are still navigating their way through the changes COVID-19 brought to the labor market, like working from home. As some look for remote or hybrid work, he says this could have ripple effects in other areas like commercial real estate. Reporting for the National Desk, I'm Dee Dee Gatton.
As the city battles the crime crisis, there's serious concern over BPD's clearance rate, looking into what's causing the backlog. Another key city official leaving her position, talking with a political analyst about what Shante Jackson's resignation tells us about the Scott administration.
As we've been reporting, Shante Jackson is resigning from her post as leader of the mayor's office of neighborhood safety and engagement. The head of Monzi's decision to leave is the latest in a series of high-profile departures from the Scott administration.
Now, Jackson has been a key figure in a number of Fox 45 News investigations into the city's Safe Streets program. Through our reporting, we have uncovered issues at Safe Streets sites run by Jackson. We have also found a number of Safe Streets employees charged with crimes, and we've been pressing city leaders for answers on how millions of dollars in city funding is being spent. Well, tonight we're looking into the impact of her decision to leave Monzi. Political analyst John Dede joins us now to break down this news today. John, thanks so much for coming in.
You're welcome.
John, look, let's be frank. You keep your ear to the ground. You're pretty plugged in. Did you see this coming at all?
This was totally unexpected, and unexpected to the point that usually when someone says they're going to leave, usually there is a coordination of a public statement by the mayor and the person who's leaving. There was no statement for at least 3 or 4 hours. I think this caught the mayor very much off guard. And sometimes that could say an indication that someone was looking to leave and maybe wasn't happy and resigning this way, even though she says she's going to stay through June.
And John, we know that the city is losing the person that oversees really the city's crime fight. What is the impact going to be? What should the mayor do next?
The most important thing the mayor needs to do is find a competent adult to take over. The problem is the mayor is often surrounding himself with a lot of young energy, and that's all good, but sometimes you need someone that knows how to put 10 and 2 on the steering wheel. A lot of people have come and gone recently from the mayor's staff, et cetera, and you're facing a re-election situation. You need to have people feel that there's good people aboard, because I always have a theory when people leave. When someone leaves the first time that they're gone out of, let's say, chief of staff, people say it's generally that person's fault who left. The second time, it's kind of like maybe each person's fault individually. By the time you're on your third person in the same job title, it's not the person who just left, it's the person who made the hire.
Yeah. So, John, it took the mayor hours to release a statement after we initially learned Jackson was leaving her post. What is the recent turnover at City Hall, paired with the fact that this departure is sudden? Tell us about the Scott administration.
When I think about this situation, as far as what it really says, is that they really have not done a good job of making sure they have some good people in immediately that stay long term. This happens a lot in government, but the problem is it seems like there's been too many problems of people, they're in the job for a short period of time, there isn't a good mesh, and what happens is you have a situation where you soon have to ask them to leave. Martin O'Malley had the same problem he was mayor too. And I think that's why it's important to kind of find some old hands and some veteran political people to bring in that kind of know where everything is, because when you have a situation like this where people are coming and going constantly, it leads to the idea that there's turmoil and chaos and there's not a good coordination among people.
All right, John Dede, thank you for joining us, giving us your perspective on this tonight. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Also in a city in crisis today, a 24-year-old was shot in Northeast Baltimore. Police say it happened around 10 in the morning near Clifton Park. He is expected to survive. Now, this man was one of 213 people who've been shot in Baltimore and survived this year. Police say 96 people have been shot and killed.
And as homicides and non-fatal shootings are trending down in Baltimore City this year, there is concern over the clearance rate, that too many are getting away with murder. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker taking a look at where the clearance rate stands and what's causing the backlog in cases.
The number, the subject of hot debate yesterday at that hearing at City Hall. It has both council members and police concerned.
While Baltimore City has seen less people killed and shot this year compared to last, it's the number of those crimes actually being solved that has some on high alert.
I'm very concerned about where we are with our clearance rate.
During a public safety hearing Wednesday,
it's that kind of collaboration.
Deputy Police Commissioner Richard Worley presented a slide showing the homicide clearance rate at just 13.1%. However, he went on to correct that number, saying it was much higher.
Actual homicide clearance rate today is 40%. Compared to 48% last year.
And I feel like the less crimes we are able to clear or solve, the longer said criminal is going to do said activity, which makes more of a snowball effect on the problems that our detectives have to solve for.
Worley points to a lack of cooperative witnesses and a shortage of more than 500 officers, including detectives.
We've probably lost 10 to 11 experienced homicide detectives to promotion.
Last year, homicide detectives cleared fewer cases than the year before, reporting a 36.3 clearance rate.
In the city of Baltimore.
On WBAL Radio C4 and Brian Neiman show this morning.
Deputy Commissioner said that the closing rate was at 13%. And then later they came back and corrected it.
Mayor Brandon Scott saying the clearance rate will soon be even higher for homicides.
It was just a mistake. Yes, I know what the number is, Brian. That the rate is actually it is 39%. But what I will also say to you that rate that our department has a bunch of warrants that they're working to serve.
When you're talking about homicide.
Sergeant Betsy Smith, spokeswoman for the National Police Association, says the clearance rate is pivotal to Baltimore residents feeling safer in their own communities.
The clearance rates are important because a cleared homicide means that you've identified an offender and that they are likely to be, indicted, charged, taken to trial. They're likely to be punished. They're likely to go to prison for committing that homicide. It's very frustrating for crime victims, for their families, as well as for law enforcement and for the community in general.
As for non-fatal shootings, the clearance rate is even lower right now at 28% compared to 27% last year. Reporting in Baltimore, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Brooklyn Park residents say a gushing water meter has been causing all sorts of trouble in their neighborhood. After a number of unanswered 311 complaints later, they decided to call Fox 45 News for help. And Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor joins us now. Rebecca, you reached out to DPW and they showed up.
They did show up. Now, I don't have any direct answers from DPW about, what caused this and if the water is safe to drink. But take a look. They did come out, and it looks like seemingly the water leak has been repaired.
The slow but steady stream running in front of Lisa Sylvia's home.
At times it's faster.
Met with an even slower response from the city.
Talked to supervisors, maintenance supervisors, and haven't gotten anywhere.
Sylvia says when the city repaired the sidewalks along West Talbot Street in Brooklyn Park, they damaged the water meters.
Cement leaked into the manhole covers,
leaving an ongoing leak since mid-March.
Just constant running water.
Sylvia not only alarmed by the constant waste of water outside, but inside. She's worried what kind of waste might be in her water.
Well,
since the start of the leak,
it does taste like a metallic taste to it.
Sylvia says her water hasn't tasted or smelled the same. And earlier this week, when she went to pour a cup of coffee,
that's what really caught my eyes.
Sylvia describing what looks like a slimy pink residue floating in her glass.
Looks like oil, thin layer of oil on top of it.
The water pressure is another concern, especially when it comes to running the washing machine or taking a shower.
If there's something else running in the house, you might be in here for a lot longer.
A look at Baltimore City's 311 call logs revealing at least 4 water leak complaints on Sylvia's block dating back to the end of March.
It's a shame that all the phone calls have been put into the city and they don't do nothing. It's like they don't care.
To learn why the leak still wasn't addressed, Fox 45 reaching out to DPW. They didn't respond to our questions, but less than an hour after our email was sent,
I'm just going to back up over there, I guess.
A DPW worker coming out to investigate. Off camera, he said it is the city's responsibility to make the meter repairs, but on camera wouldn't speak with us.
No comment.
He sat in his car until we left, and once we did, moments later, Sylvia capturing this cell phone video from her window of DPW crews finally getting to work.
So again, as you can see, it looks like for the most part that these repairs have been completed. However, as far as those water safety concerns, I'm still waiting to hear back from DPW officials. However, the latest crews that were just out here, I did get to speak with them off camera, and they're saying they do believe that the water is safe to drink. Reporting live in Baltimore, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Rebecca, thank you. Well, all eyes are on the southern border tonight as officials brace for a wave of migrants to enter the U.S. Title 42, an immigration policy allowing border agents to reject migrants, is set to expire at midnight.
This is a live look right now at the border in El Paso, Texas. Through the wall, you can see some of the migrants hoping to enter the United States. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are under pressure to find a solution. The House